Welcome back, students. This is the second part of the first unit. We were discussing the different sources of rain in Pakistan. We had already discussed the monsoon rains and the Western Depression rains. So next we're going to discuss the convectional rains, the rains caused by convectional currents. These types of rains actually start at the start of the summer. So what happens is we have already established in our previous lectures that land and ocean, they absorb heat at different rates. Land heats up quickly and ocean takes time to heat up. So what happens is on land, the land heats up and it heats up the air as well. The air starts to evaporate, and since it's the start of summer, the air still has moisture in it. So what it happens, it evaporates and becomes cloud. These clouds go to a higher altitude, and when they go to a higher altitude, they cool down, they condenses, and they start to rain. Northern and northern western areas of Pakistan receive these kinds of rains. These kinds of rains are a lot less common in the southern part, mostly because the air cannot condense below 1600 meters. And since most of the southern areas they have very low elevation, so that's why this convectional currents do not cause any rains in the southern parts of the country, which is why that the southern part or close to Karachi. In fact, Karachi is closer to the ocean. Karachi is closer to ocean, but it still does not receive rains from convectional currents, mostly because it is at a very low elevation. The next type of rainfall, the source of rain is the relief rains. These are actually associated with the altitude. We have already discussed about rain shadow effect. So what happens in rain shadow effect, that some mountains they block the rain causing clouds, which results in most of the rain occurring on one side of the mountains, and the other side it remains devoid of any rain and becomes very dry. We had already discussed it when we were discussing the monsoon rains, but the relief rains, they are actually a little bit different than the ones we discussed previously. These are actually the type of convectional rains that happens on the mountains. So what happens is, again, it is going to the sun will start to fall, and it is going to heat up that particular area, and the clouds will emerge from that area. And when they go up to the mountain, not only the mountain blocks them, it starts to collect those clouds and it starts to condense them, and those clouds, they start to precipitate, or they start to rain, and they cause this effect on only one side of the hill, and the other side remains dry. So these were the different sources of rain. We have studied monsoon rains, we have studied Western Depression rains, we have studied relief rains, and we have studied rains caused by convectional current. There is a table in this particular slide. As you can see, the figure 2.26, it has been taken from your book. As I have previously suggested you, all of you have to keep your books open. These slides are not the substitute for your book. These slides are only meant to supplement your books. You have to refer to them as we go along. So we know that the climate of Pakistan was divided into four zones, and in this table it is given that what sources of rainfall do they receive. In highland zone, the relief rainfall, monsoon rainfall, thunderstorms, and Western Depression, all of them contribute to rainfall. While in lowland zone, convectional rainfall in northern Punjab, and Western Depression in northern Punjab, and monsoon rainfall. These are the only three sources. While in the coastal zone, it's monsoon and Western depressions and tropical cyclones. We have discussed tropical cyclones in the next slide, so bear with me. In the arid zone, there is a very small amount of rainfall, and it is only caused by monsoon winds and Western depression. So most of the rainfall in Pakistan, it happens in due to either monsoon winds or due to Western depression. The next topic that we are going to study about is the pressure and winds. So the whole monsoon system, it actually depends on the air pressure above the Indus Valley or Pakistan as a whole. Okay, so now I'm going to recap a concept that we have already discussed in our previous lecture and currently as well, that ocean heats up slower and land heats up faster. So what happens is when it is summertime, the land of Pakistan, it starts to heat up much more quickly than Arabian Sea or the Indian Ocean, and it starts to heat up the air over it, and we all know that the hotter air, it starts to rise, and this rise will cause the pressure to fall, the air pressure to fall. But the over on the oceans, it has not heated up right now. It is still in the process of heating up, so the pressure over there is still higher. So there is a area of low pressure on land, but an area of high pressure on ocean. So in order to compensate the pressure gradient, the winds start to flow from ocean towards the land. This causes the whole monsoon fiasco. This of course reverses during the winter, because during the winter the air pressure, or or in the post monsoon season, the air pressure is higher on the land and lower in the ocean, over the ocean. So the wind starts to blow from land to ocean. These we have previously discussed this as well. These winds actually do not cause a lot of rains, because they are moving over a drier area. uh, in again, the whole monsoon winds are only happens because of the pressure gradient that is caused over this area of land. So after discussing all the different rainfall sources in our slide, so how effective are these rainfalls? First of all, monsoon rainfalls are very heavy rains, so like they pour very heavily. It's it's almost like a storm, so they are not very productive for agriculture. I know it will come as a bit of shocker to everyone, but the most effectiveness of a monsoon rainfall is that they replenish the water reservoirs of Pakistan. Most of the agriculture in Pakistan is actually dependent on irrigation system and not on rain. There are some areas in Pakistan like Barani areas in Pothwar Plateau and Sialkot, and these areas that are actually dependent on rain for agriculture, on monsoon rains for agriculture. But this is exception and not a rule. Most of Pakistan is irrigated by Indus River and various canals. They are not irrigated by rainfall. Why? Because monsoon rains are not very productive for agriculture. They are productive for replenishment of the water reservoirs of Pakistan, like the Indus River, which in turn irrigates the whole of the land. So the relation is actually indirect and not direct. Most of the productive rainfall is actually happens during the winter season, or the Western Depression rains. Why? Because it is very light rain, and it is actually much better absorbed by the land, and much better used for the agriculture. Another reason why monsoon is not very conducive to agriculture is because of the phenomenon of evapotranspiration. So what happens is monsoon actually happens during late summer. It is still summertime. So what happens is the moment it rains, it starts to due to immense sun, it starts to evaporate very quickly. And even you guys have might have experienced it in your life, that after rains there is usually a few months or a few weeks of very high humidity, or what we call hubs. And that is not a very productive time of the year. It is not very good time of the year. That is also caused by monsoon. So now we have seen that the climate is actually varies greatly in Pakistan. So what are the main reasons? We have already studied about the main reasons in our previous slide. We are going to go through it once again. Latitudinal effect. What is latitudinal effect? Again, we have already discussed in previous slide. And if you guys are still confused about it, you should go ahead and go ahead and rewatch the slides that I sent you before. The second, relief rainfall, monsoon winds. Now, most of Pakistan's climate revolves around monsoon winds, so they are very important for the climatic conditions of Pakistan. Now, the coastal areas, they have maritime influence. We have already discussed maritime influence. We have discussed Western Depression, convectional currents, and all this in our previous slides. Temperature inversion layer. So, again, when we were discussing conventional rainfall or rainfall due to convectional currents, I told you that most of the south does not receive convectional rainfall. Why? Because they are not very because the air will not condense below 1600 meters. This is known as temperature inversion layer. And the next are tropical cyclones. Again, we are going to discuss tropical cyclones in our next slide. So, what are the effects of climate on human on life and human activity? So again, it's a no-brainer that the lifestyle of humans actually depend on the different climatic conditions. In the highland zone, most of the humans over there, most of the people that live over there, usually Pathans and Pashtun in northern areas and in northwestern mountains, and they exercise transhumans. What does it means? It means that during extreme cold, they move towards the areas with much favorable climate, like the plains area in the Indus Valley, and during summers they go back, and and most of them actually live a nomadic lifestyle. What does that mean is it means they are raising livestock, and they are constantly on the move, and most of the area is barren. It has some orchards, it has some valleys that are prone to agriculture, but most of the area is barren. Okay, in the arid zone, the most irrigation happen through carries. So carries are underground canals. Why are they underground? Mostly in the area of Balochistan. What they do is they have actually dug up canals, and they have covered them. They have covered them from the surface as to avoid evapotranspiration, as to avoid water from evaporating due to sun. So what have they done? They have dug canals underground, and wherever they have planted orchids, or wherever they have planted their crops, they take the water from the carries and irrigate the particular land. Some of the land has also been reclaimed. What does that mean? It means that we have actually created some canals, and we have irrigated parts of the desert ecosystem, and we have started to grow crops over there, and we have started sedentary lifestyle over there. Sedentary means settled lifestyle. So, semi-arid zone, it actually contains most of the Indus Plain. This is the most ideal place in Pakistan. Why? Because it again, it corresponds to the Indus Valley, and Indus Valley is conducive to grow a large amount of crops like wheat and barley and rice and everything else. And most of these things are grown over here, and people have a an economically better lifestyle over here. The last one is the coastal zones. These are the best areas for economic activity. Why? Because they have a very conducive environment throughout the year. We have already learned that the coastal areas, they have maritime influence. What does that mean? It means that most of the temperature in this particular area remains very pleasant throughout the year. So that's why this is the area that can have uh, economic activity throughout the year. Furthermore, the Karachi or the Sindh coastal area, it is also have a much milder climate, while the Makran coast is actually much drier and hotter. But again, this is not as hot as the arid or semi-arid zone, so it is very conducive to economic activity. So the next are the river floods. So basically, the Indus Plain or the Indus Valley is actually a flood river valley or alluvial valley. So what is alluvial? Alluvial is basically the the alluvium is the uh, silt layer of the river, like the what would you say, the clay or the sand or the mud that is in the on the riverbed. So during the floods, what happens is the river spreads across its boundaries, and it spreads that alluvium as well. And alluvium is actually very very fertile. So wherever the floods are, the land there becomes very fertile. So Indus and its tributaries, they actually flood regularly. In fact, it is one of their defining features. But every 7 to 8 years, there are severe floods that can cause. Uh, since most of the Indus plain is settled, they cause a lot of damage as well. But this is the norm. This is not exception. This is the norm in the Indus Valley. In fact, one of the reasons why this valley is very fertile is also because it is a flooding valley. It is created by river floods. Furthermore, the image that you are watching on this slide is actually from 2010. 2010 was a year of severe flooding. In fact, according to some sources, 20% of Pakistan's total land area was under the water, was actually flooded. And this while this was very destructive, a lot of people got killed because of this particular flooding. This was actually very advantageous for the ecosystem of the Indus Valley. Why? Because it brought in much needed fresh water. It replenished the fresh water. It also raised the groundwater. As you would know, most of you guys will have some kind of water motor in your home. So whenever you want water, you don't have to depend on the municipal authority or the government or official water pipeline. You can just turn the your water motor on, and the water is available. Why is that? Because groundwater in Pakistan, in most of the Pakistan, is actually very much available, and that is because of this almost regular flooding. In fact, the disadvantages are obvious. It's the whole of the life becomes disrupted, and people get displaced, and it is a whole fiasco. It is very destructive. But the productivity of this region also depends on this flooding a lot. So I was telling you about the cyclones that we were going to be studying in our next slide. These are the storms and cyclones. So again, now let me again reiterate the atmospheric conditions as well. So what happens is during monsoon season there is a lot more air pressure. Air pressure is a lot more on the ocean, but it's a lot less on the land, which is why it creates a lot of it creates the wind movement. The storms that are the local storms, they are also formed in the same way. So what happens is during the post monsoon season, after October, the atmospheric pressure, it starts to fall. So what is happening right now, let me reiterate what is happening. First, during the late summer, what was happening, the air pressure was lower on the land, higher in the ocean. The wind start to move from ocean to land, causing monsoon. And they do all the monsoon, they do all the rainfall, and the atmospheric pressure, it starts to fall after October, after the monsoon. So this fall of atmospheric pressure, it actually causes some sporadic storms in the Indus Valley or Indus Plain or in the northern mountains as well. These can cause some rainfall. They don't usually on the northern part of the country, they come as thunderstorms, but in the southern part of the country, they come as dust storms, which are also not very conducive to regular life. And they are actually a lot less frequent. They don't happen a lot, but whenever they happen, they cause some damage. The cyclones, they are the localized form of storms over the ocean. So they originate over Arabian Sea. They are actually very frequent, but most of the time they don't come to the shores of Pakistan. They go to the shores of India, or they go to the shores of Oman and Yemen, but rarely do they come to the shore of Pakistan. And whenever they do, they cause a great deal of damage, which is again not very productive. The next catastrophe that we often have faced in the Indus Plain or in the Pakistan is drought. So what is drought? Drought is basically a lack of water. I think in Urdu you will call it the sukha, or the dry spell. You can actually call a dry spell a drought as well. There are four different types of droughts. Permanent drought are the droughts where the crop cultivation is completely impossible. No crops can be grown. Seasonal droughts usually happen in the Pothwa region and in the Barani areas. So what happens is they are dependent on rainfall. The Barani's areas are somewhat dependent on rainfall for crop production. So when there are low rainfall during the rainy season, so what happens is the crops are not grown properly, or they don't grow at all. So it causes a seasonal drought that only lasts during that season. Then there is an invisible drought. So the what is an invisible drought? uh, Invisible drought actually is the type of water deficiency that can reduce the crop yield, but it does not kill the production of crops. So what happens is, if you are growing 1 acre if you have formed 1 acre of wheat, and you are getting like 40 kgs, during the invisible rot you will only be getting 4 kg. So what is happening? The crop is not dying, but your yield is actually becoming less and less, and this yield actually does not fulfill all the needs of that particular area, and that is known as invisible drought. And the unpredictable droughts are actually the ones that happen due to abnormal rain patterns in humid environment. So what does that mean? That the area is not barani, the area is not arid, the area is humid. Like it is conducive to agriculture, it gets regular rains, but due to some reason, due to climate change or any other reason, it does not get the regular rain patterns. The rains are very abnormal, like they usually happen during monsoon season, but under unpredictable drought it may happen after October, when during the post monsoon season. So that is what will cause an unpredictable drought. And drought is very severe in Indus Valley. We have taken drought very seriously. There are different ways to manage drought, like water storage schemes. You can create seasonal water reservoirs or seasonal canals that can hold water during the flooding season, which you can use during the drought season or wherever the drought comes. The next is the use of new technologies like desalination and water treatment. So what will happen is, during desalination you can actually use the salt water to irrigate your crops, and water treatment of the wastewater can also be treated to be used uh, a tool for irrigation. Furthermore, the lining of canals. So most of the canals in Pakistan, they were dug during the British era. So at that time they were not lined with concrete, they were just dug in the mud. So what will happen is, when the water will seep through them, it will seep through the land. That is how the groundwater table also is formed due to this reason. So if we line the canals, then the loss of water can be reduced, and better water management and planning can also be conducive to reducing drought. And there is a whole table of drought management that you can see. It has these three technologies, and how these three technologies can be done, it has also been mentioned in that particular slide as well. Okay, these all these tables, most of these tables are actually taken from your book. So you guys are also advised to refer to the book and keep your book open during this tutorial as well. So there was a very severe drought. The last severe drought that happened in Pakistan was during 2000 and 2001. This actually affected most of the arid areas of Pakistan, like the Balochistan plateau and the Sindh and southern Punjab region. Wherever the Thar desert is, wherever the arid zone of climate was, that is uh, where it hit the most, mostly because the rains were not very available at that particular time of the year. So it caused drought, and it was the last most severe drought in Pakistan, and almost I think 20,000 families were affected due to it, and more than a million cattle also died. It's again mentioned in your book on page number 45. You are encouraged to further study it as well. So the drought has many different effects on the environment and on human population as well. It can increase desertification. It can turn the land into a desert. It can also result in the drying up of rivers and lakes and streams that can cause harm to fisheries and aquatic life. It can also drop the water table as well. The groundwater can also drop. Like if previously water was available at 30 feet, then now you have to dig up more than that. You have to dig up 100 feet to get to the water. It also destroys human life as well. It destroys population, it destroys economy. It destroys economy by crop failure and death of livestock. The crop, you cannot grow crops, you cannot graze your livestock. Both of these will result in shortage of raw materials and shortage of exports and increased imports, and it will devastate your economy. Furthermore, the population, due to they may start dying due to starvation, or they will start to migrate towards better areas of the country. So what are the main causes of drought in Pakistan? The main causes of drought in Pakistan, let me get the slide back. Main causes of drought in Pakistan are actually unreliability of monsoon winds, dry and hot winds, and global climate. So the problem with Pakistan is we are the most affected country or most affected region due to climate change. So whenever there is even a slight amount of climatic change over the world, we will be most affected by it. Why? Because as I have told you, most of the monsoon season or the most of the monsoon wind system actually depends on atmospheric pressure. So if the atmospheric pressure due to, and why does that atmospheric pressure gradient is created? Because of the difference of heating up of land and air on land and air on ocean. That is the main reason why this pressure gradient is formed, which actually moves the wind. So due to global warming, this whole wind system is actually affected, which actually becomes makes monsoon rains very unreliable. There are also human factors, like we have destroyed most of our forests that have resulted in soil erosion, and we have also mismanaged our water resources. We have unfair distribution of water between our provinces. This is also a very important topic as well. Why? Because while Pakistan has a lot of water resources, in fact, Indus River is among the largest rivers in the world. But we have not been able to fully use its water. We have not been able to fully utilize most of its water due to this reason, due to many political reasons. And global warming and overgrazing of land are also the main causes or main human factors that have contributed to droughts in Pakistan. Okay, students, our chapter has completed. You don't have to complete the whole chapter in just two sittings, in just two lectures. You can actually use like you can actually go through like two or three of the slides, or how many you want, and you can actually go with your own pace. You don't have to follow my pace of developing these completing the whole chapter in two lectures. You can actually you take only three slides and only consult that particular time of the lecture, and refer that with the book. And again, what I'm trying to say is that you don't have to go with my pace. You can go with your pace. You don't have to complete the whole chapter in only two sittings. You can actually take multiple sessions of different slides, however you like, however you are pleased to do it. Okay beta, Allah Hafiz.